I wanted to set up my equipment and use my camera. I've been using a lot of my phone to shoot video content, and I was really interested in shooting a video with a little bit higher video and audio quality. And one of the things I wanted to discuss was something that took me a little bit by surprise, but in conversations with my wife has been a sort of touchstone for the entire development of my business. Anytime I had questions, I could always go to her. We would do research together. She would help me with paperwork. She's formerly run a business herself, so she knows a little bit more about that process than I did. So it got to a point where my business was growing by leaps and bounds, and it was actually putting a little bit of pressure on my relationship with my wife because she no longer had answers to my questions. I had gotten to a place where I couldn't ask the same questions and get answers from her because I had outstripped her knowledge base. Well, quickly what that turned into was a degree of anxiety for me because at this stage in my business, I'm doing things that there aren't really any precedents for in the massage industry. There aren't industry leaders that I can go talk to about this, to network with, to have discussions, because I'm pushing the edges of what is normally done in the massage industry, both as a therapist and an educator. So part of what I'm challenged with dealing with is I see clients, I'm teaching classes, and I'm selling retail. And then really I'm working towards doing like an online sort of training as well. Well, a lot of those things, again, there's no parameters for what's the right practice to take on. What's the right thing to do? It's not laid out for me. It's not charted. Nothing in my educational experience through school and nothing in my professional experience has taught me the correct way to do something. It's something that I have to test and figure out. You use your best judgment. And that process is working fine, but I was having a very high degree of anxiety. No amount of meditation, yoga, body work, exercise, eating well was seeming to touch it. So my wife, fortunately, being the wonderful woman that she is, she recommended that I seek out a counselor, specifically someone who does EMDR therapy, which I think is sometimes used for trauma. I've since seen Alex Sharfin, who is a local Austin entrepreneur, mention EMDR therapy specifically. So I'm actually very excited about getting to know this counselor that I just saw the other day, and we'll see again this coming weekend. In talking with the counselor, the first session, he was just trying to get a feel for what's going on with me so that he can help me out. He's getting to know me. And what I'm looking at is this interesting thing where I'm trying to get assistance for my mental health so that I can make good decisions for my business. And the reason my wife recommended I go see a counselor is she didn't want the pressures of my business having excess effect on my relationship with her, because it was leading to her having a degree of anxiety because she doesn't have answers for me, and it leads to this sort of stressful situation. When I decided to go to counseling, I don't have any issues with that. I've been in counseling several times over my lifetime. The first time was in college, and then it's continued several times since then. So the challenge I had was I get students who ask me things about the connection between your personal life and your professional life, especially when it comes to social media. So how much do I talk about the fact that I'm going to counseling? And my immediate thought was, when that question came to mind, was that I absolutely should be talking about the fact that I'm seeking mental health care assistance. Because I think if you are a massage therapist who's really trying to build your practice, and if you are a massage therapist and a business person who's really trying to be an entrepreneur, no one would think anything about me saying, hey, I want to get into shape, I'm going to go find a personal trainer. Hey, I need some help with body work, so I'm going to go find a good body worker to work on me. I need some assistance with my diet, so I'm going to go work with a dietitian, and a nutritionist. But when it comes to mental health, there's a bit of a stigma. Because if you're looking for mental health, it's like, oh, you're sick, you're mentally ill. And it's like, no, it's not really that at all. It's that we live in 2017 in a very complex world that is stressful. And even with all the coping mechanisms I've developed, I don't really have coping mechanisms for prosperity. The business that I've gotten used to is being able to work on people. There's nothing that's stressful about that. The business that I've gotten used to is teaching a class. There's not very much stressful about that. But my job is essentially becoming something akin to a tech worker because I'm spending more and more time on a computer, fielding emails, answering phone calls, delegating things. And when you're an entrepreneur like me who's trying to delegate tasks, build a team, I'm dealing with things like Facebook ads and webinars and retail sales and shipping and packaging and, well, you see, that's not really the business I got into. So it makes perfect sense to go seek a mental health professional to help me from the outside say, hey, have you tried this? These are techniques people use to minimize stress and noise. It makes total sense to seek those things out. And I thought that by documenting and talking about my own process, about it being stressful. And I'd like to stress that it's not that things are bad. If anything, it's the exact opposite. It's that things are good and it's causing stress. The challenge is I've spent 40 years developing all of the tools, techniques needed to deal with poverty. If my entire business fell apart and I had to go deliver pizza tomorrow just to pay the bills, there's not really a huge amount about that stresses me because I know how to live on nothing. I know how to get my clothes at a thrift store. I know how to get car repairs on the cheap. I know how to eat ramen noodles and tighten my belt. I don't know how to invest thousands and thousands of dollars in the best way in my business because I'm not used to using money as a tool that way. As my business is evolving, that's what's happening, and there's a challenge there that I'm presented with. And I think the best course of action, both for my personal relationships and for my professional business growth, is to seek out a professional. And I'd like to encourage you, if you're having problems with anxiety, depression, your mental health, it's something that you're going to have to deal with if you're really going to build your business. I really say that you need to seek out a mental health professional and stress that you are completely not alone. It's a normal part of the entrepreneurial journey to have to figure out new support structures. And I'll give you a quick example. When I go out to parties, I very rarely, as I get older, meet people at parties that I want to have long, extended conversations with. And it's not because they're not wonderful people, it's because a lot of people I talk to work a 9-to-5 job. They're fairly happy with that 9-to-5 job. And the longer my business grows, it's very difficult for me to understand and deal with someone who lives that lifestyle. Because for me, this is a Monday. Technically, I'm off and I'm shooting a video. And that's how my life has been for 5 or 6 years. So I don't work because I get paid. I work because I absolutely love it. And yes, I make money so I can pay the bills, but even that is only a modicum of the sort of success I'm looking for. I'm looking for something much larger. And that's what I'm hoping mental health care, dealing with a counselor. Again, I think it's EMDR is what it's called. As I work with this counselor, I'm hoping he's going to give me some tools to help balance that out because I need to take a little more time off. I need to be able to talk to a mental health professional who can help give me mechanisms, tools that I can use to manage stress and perspective. And I need to be able to preserve my relationships, both with my wife in a romantic relationship and also friendships. A young gentleman I talked to yesterday, I got his phone number. He wants to get there together and hang out sometime. And I sense that he's in a similar situation to me, meaning he's extremely mentally astute and bright. I'm not exactly sure if he has the same business dealings, but it helps to just have friendships, sort of camaraderie, to be able to de-stress and get away from the challenges that we face. So I just wanted to talk about entrepreneurship and mental health and encourage you to go see someone. Hey, if you're having problems. Over time, I also find that a lot of massage therapists who are engaging in entrepreneurship are contacting me. And that's a wonderful way. I'm very happy to communicate with you about that. If that's something you're interested in, please just contact me online. If I don't respond immediately, just give me time. I'll get back to you. It's a challenge because I can tell that the more of these entrepreneurial-minded massage therapists come to me and make connections, it's even adding a little bit more to my stress. I'm trying to bring them along in my little journey. But quite literally, I had a great therapist in England contact me, in Britain. And after a very quick conversation, maybe a couple days in, little chats back and forth, he told me he was almost going to cry. And when I asked him what was going on, he said that, nobody's ever really believed in me. And part of that entrepreneurial journey, part of that building a business, building your art, building your empire, is the fact that we're dealing with all the stuff that is part of our emotional lives and psychological buildup from the time we're children, where we have issues with our parents, we have issues with our siblings and families, we have issues at school with adults and educators and colleagues, and those things, if they're not dealt with, can pile up. And really the part of the process of you building your empire is you have to deal with your stuff, and you have to have a certain degree of mental clarity to make good decisions. So much like me, I'm encouraging you to, one, connect with people and learn how to take time off. You got to eat well, exercise, and seek out mental health. That's one that's got a stigma, and I don't think it should. I think it's something that we need to address, and that's why I wanted to be transparent about the process that I'm doing that myself. If you have any questions for me, feel free to contact me. You can do that here on YouTube. You can write down in the comments. Also, if you follow me on whatever social media channel, whether it be YouTube or Facebook, feel free to say hello and maybe tell me a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey and how it's been influenced by your mental health, seeking out counseling. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you again soon for Robert Gardner Wellness and talks about entrepreneurship and mental health. Thank you.